Welcome to Fly on the Wall podcast. I'm your host, Chris Sonkson, CEO and founder of Church Boom. Here you get to sit in on a live coaching session as I coach pastors through the ministry challenges we all face. If you find this podcast helpful, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Hey everyone, thanks for joining in today. We are talking with David and Randall. They have an amazing church and are church planners in Los Angeles, California, and talking with them today about barriers for church growth. It's a great conversation, and I know you're going to love it. Before we jump into it, I want to remind you to check out churchboom.org. We've got a lot of things there that we have to offer, a lot of tools and resources to help you and things that you can become a part of. So when you get a chance, check out churchboom.org, and let's jump into the conversation now. Well, man, let's jump into it today. I've had an opportunity to talk with you on a couple of other coaching conversations, group calls and stuff like that, but I don't think I've ever done any kind of one-on-one with you guys. But let's jump into it, man. How can I serve you today, and what's on your guys' mind?
Yeah, well, one of the questions David just mentioned that we are almost 4 years, and I feel like we've passed some of the "Are we gonna make it?" moments. Like, I mean, obviously there's still those questions sometimes, but we've passed like the 1 year mark, right? We passed the 3 year mark, and we're at the about 120 barrier as a church, and so just maybe asking you what are some things to expect, blessings and burdens coming up now this 4 years in, and just what to look for, how to keep our team motivated at this time. So yeah, just any advice for that 4 year hurdle.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, first of all, I commend you. You've made it 4 years, and a lot of churches don't. A lot of churches don't make it 4 years, and well, you made it, and that's awesome. It is not easy planning a church. I did it myself. We now have 12 campuses, but and I don't do a lot of the day-to-day. I'm the founder of South Hills, but my wife and I started it from nothing, met in the house, did the whole thing. So we get it, totally get it. So man, there's a lot of thoughts that I have for you that I think are important. I love talking to church planners, and I love people that are like at 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, how do we get to the next level? What hurdles do we need to overcome? I think those are a lot of really great conversations. So in no specific order, just thoughts in my head, because I've been through it. And we've helped hundreds of churches get through it. So again, no specific order. The first thing is you got to realize that everybody will always view the church as the size in which you first came. So that's an important part, because as you grow, you're going to find that certain people will begin to say, man, we don't get to spend any time with you. We don't get it. It's not like it used to be. What happened to the just 50 of us? And it was like a little family. So you're going to hear all that stuff, and, you just need to be aware of it. You need to be aware of that for sure. You need to be cautious because you're big enough where you can kind of select some leaders. You need to be cautious of the leaders that you put into position. I think that in the early days, if you have a pulse, you're a leader. And I kind of, thank God, can you do something for this church? Go, and I get that. I really do. But I think as you grow and you mature as a church, it's important that you are real cautious who you put into leadership, and that you have a pathway of leadership. Because it's very, very easy for one leader to get a little toxic on you. And once they start getting toxic and they start getting negative, it can get really, really difficult. You want to be really, really cautious of that. The other thing is, again, no specific order, is one thing I always say about churches is they're always moving from cement to concrete. So as you move from cement to concrete, the longer you stay at a certain number, the harder it is to break through.
That's good.
Whether that's 120, 220, 520. The longer you stay at a number, the harder it is to break through. So I was just coaching a church one-on-one, and first time met with them, and they are running about 500. They've been running 500 for 13, 14 years. And so the longer that church stays at that number, it doesn't matter if it's 120, like in your situation, or 500 or 5,000, the longer you stay at a number, the harder it is to break through, because that when you pour cement, it's really, you can move cement very easy. You pour it into a driveway and you can move it and put your handprints in there and all the fun stuff that we do. But once it becomes concrete, that's a totally different story. and that can happen in the church life, is that cement turns into concrete really quick. The last thing I think I would say, and who knows, maybe I'll have one more after that, but is you're moving. It's kind of a dual thing. You're moving from ministering to people to ministering through people.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do everything.
Yeah.
Right now at 120, you are still the builder. The builder is the person that is creating the energy, getting everybody excited, putting everything in. But as you grow a little bit more, it can't just be you. You got to have other leaders. You got to build it on systems. You got to build it on process. You got to build it on culture. You got to build it on DNA. When you're a builder, you're just trying to get the thing off the ground. But eventually, you can't just be the get off the ground thing. You have to start move from ministering to people to ministering through people. And that's an important part as well, because I always say that there's 3 levels to kind of the church sort of, I don't know, life of growing a church. It kind of goes from, if you're kind of level 1, the bottom level, the second and the third, it would be personality, program, processes. Churches start off with personality, and it's really personality driven. For you, David and Randall, you're driving it, you're hanging out, you're calling people, you're having coffee with people. It's personality, man. It's personality. That's why the average church in America is 60 people, because it's really driven on personality. Mm-hmm. Then what happens is churches jump to programs. Now we're going to start adding programs the bigger we get. They'll add programs. And they'll say, now we got 200, we need to have a youth program, we need to have this program, we need to have that program. And they start going to programs. But very few ever realize the value of getting to that third level. And that is like, we can't just be personality driven, and we can't just be program driven. We have to have processes. How do we follow up with guests? How do we get more first-time guests here? What is our process? How do we develop leaders? How do you become a leader at our church? How do we develop volunteers? How do we create a volunteer culture? What's the process for? And very few get to that. They live at either all personality, then some make it to program. They become lots of programs, but they rarely ever get to the place of process. That's why churches over 1,500 on average have less programs than churches under 500. Because the churches under 500 are living in programs, but because they made the jump from personality, and then they went to programs, but they never made the jump to processes. Interesting. And you're at a place, I think you need to start dialing in those processes, making sure you're developing leaders, creating the culture that you want, start ministering through people, not just to people. Those are the kind of the hurdles and sort of what's coming up over the next couple of years for you. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, that's very good.
This is kind of a side question to that. Right now, at the place we're in, we have someone, when we talk about because our whole existence, everyone has been volunteer, like all the leaders in place have been volunteer. And so just recently we started stipending a worship person, and then a person that's overseeing like compassion and also the coffee arm of our church, because we're going to be opening a coffee cart throughout the week. But having said that, I don't know if you want to answer the question, when you started paying people, what's the first hire, or what's what positions should we be looking at? That's kind of like a side question for that one, just as we get to this place.
Well, sometimes the variables is dependent on the demographic of the area, the demographic of the area. So if you're in an area and you got nothing but people that are 45 and older, 50 and older, your children's thing is probably not, you don't have. That's not the demographic of the entire community. Mm-hmm. It's not the demographic of the church, not the demographic. You need children's, but it's not the demographic of the area. So, but in typical standard form, I can just tell you the 3 areas that so if someone's planning a church, mm-hmm. and they say, or they're a year into it or 2 years into it, they're always asking me, hey, what's the most important thing? And I always say, first and foremost, number 1 is Sunday is your product. Yeah. Put on an amazing Sunday morning experience. I think that first-time guests do not come with mercy; they come with judgment. First-time guests, so they're not coming with mercy. That's for sure. So they're coming with judgment. So I look at worship, I look at children's, and then I look at assimilation. Mm-hmm. That's odd. A lot of people don't think assimilation is where I would go, but if I'm planting something or helping someone or doing something or organization doing something, I'm like, okay, besides the lead pastors, you need worship, got to be great. Children has to be great. On the typical, like demographically, if you're in some area where it's like, there's no children here, it's all senior citizens, then that's different. But in your normal world, Los Angeles, worship, children's, I can't believe I just said normal world and Los Angeles in the same sentence.
So good. That's you got it.
I'm from Southern California, so I'm allowed to say that.
Normal.
So, worship, really important. Children's, really important. And then assimilation. So for me, assimilation is who's helping the process. Like assimilation to me is like the person that's overseeing the process of getting people there for the first time, following up for them, and then getting them connected into the life of the church. I need someone to help oversee all of that. Like, hey, man, oversee the team that's creating the invite culture, because that's a whole separate subject, okay? Then from the invite culture, make sure the follow-up is good. Okay, how do we do follow-up? Are we following up? To what level? There's some good stuff there. And then how are we getting people connected to the life of the church? Like, that is important because everybody focuses on number goals. We want to be 200 by the end of the year. We want to be 2,000 by the end of the year. And I personally think that's a mistake. That's just me. I think you should internally, but what you should really focus on is the activity. How many people are we getting involved in ministry over this next 30 days? Mm-hmm. What are we doing? So, because that's what creates the growth. The activity is what creates the result. So worship, children, assimilation. Those to me are the three top things that if I'm in the early stages, that's where I'm looking the most.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's
those
fantastic.
areas. Yeah. What else you got? Follow-up questions? Hey, this is your time, so however I can help you.
This is kind of a big jump. I wrote it down, but eventually, so right now we lease our building. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of this is two different questions, so feel free to answer however you want. But one is eventually we would like to buy either our building or a building of some sort. And so that's how do we cast vision for that, especially with a group that is so transient. Most of our people last for 2 years, not because they hate the church, but because they're moving in and out of our area. So that's one. But then also this idea of there has been some opportunity for us to possibly launch in another part of town, just add on to what we're already doing. And so we're kind of in the conversation of that, of having a second location. And so just maybe some advice for, I know that's two different things, buying a building and launching a second campus, but this idea of expanding, multiplying, growing. Obviously you did that at one point. You went from one campus to 2 campuses. I don't know the whole story, but just maybe some advice as we look at maybe doing that. What are some things we have to do in that process?
Yeah, no. This is great. So I live in Southern California. You live in Southern California. Our real estate is vastly different than the rest of the world.
Yes, it is.
So maybe besides New York City, but outside of that, there's not much more. So getting property is very, very difficult. I can't say, hey, buy it or don't buy it. I don't know what the terms are. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what the situation is. 120, that would seem really hard to sustain buying something unless there was some big gift coming somewhere or there was an outside source of income that would allow the purchase to take place. That would be very, very difficult. I'm not saying not to do it. I just don't know all the variables. But I always say this as a caution is that we shape the building and then the building shapes us. Mm. So you want to be careful that it's like, we bought a building and now we're in debt up to our ears. Okay, we shape the building, we shape the debt, But then now that building is shaping us. We can't afford staff. We can't afford program. We can't afford doing any outreach. We can't afford nothing because all the money goes to the building. So we shaped the building, and then the building shaped us. It shaped how we do ministry. You just want to be careful with that. So again, I don't know the variables, but those are things just to keep in mind. And anytime you want to talk offline, Church Boom as a whole is here to help. So I'd love to talk to you anytime offline on that with more details. But
Sure.
as for the second campus, I would say, again, variables in that. Do you have the leadership for it? Do you have the right people for it? How is that going to impact the current situation? It's 120. I don't know what your finances are, but that's smaller to be launching a second campus. But I never don't want to limit God, and I don't want to limit okay, God's going to do whatever He wants, and I believe in the law of sowing and reaping. And I think if a church sows, it reaps, and it sows into another community or another at least part of the community. I think that it can reap something great. So I don't want to just say, oh no, don't do it, but one thing I always say is when you guys this works for multi-site's a big one it works for, but it can work for a lot of big programs or big projects, is you want to create what I call traffic lights. And so traffic lights, like in the normal, is red, yellow, green. Red is stop, yellow, slow down, green is do what, go for it. It's always good to have a predetermined traffic light as you're growing. It's a big program we want to launch. We want to launch an internship school that's going to cost money. We want to launch a second campus. Okay. David and Randall, come up with 5, 8, 10 statements that you could rate red, yellow, or green. So here's what I mean. Do we have the finances for this? Red, yellow, green.
Sure.
Do we have the leadership in place? Red, yellow, green. Will this be too high of a risk? Red, yellow, green. Do we have the volunteers for it? Red, yellow, green. Is this the right timing? Red, yellow, green. Is it going to take is it going to take too much away from what we're currently doing? Red, yellow, green. Is this going to get us off mission? Red, yellow, green. And now you start going through that and you're like, man, we got a lot of green lights. Well, green lights mean go. But if you go through those predetermined questions, before you we always go through these 8 questions or whatever. If you look at it and you're like, man, 6 are red, 2 are green. That's a problem. That's but the beauty of it is, now let's say it's not that. Let's say it's 6 green, 1 yellow, 1 red. It's I'd like the red to at least become a yellow before we move forward. Now, here's the cool thing is, now what do we got to do to get that line to go from red to yellow so we feel good about it?
Yeah.
It helps you make wise decisions before those decisions are in front of you.
That's so good.
Wow.
So anytime you go through a program, because you could get excited about it,
right.
You could really want to do it. If you're a serial entrepreneur, you're like, let's get this done. Let's go for it. Let's make it happen. Okay, Hold on. Let's step back. Let's ask these 8 questions and let's see if we can get enough of them green. And so for me, if I had 8 questions, 6 were green and 2 were yellow, I'd probably move. If 6 were green and 2 were red, I'd probably say, wait a minute, we got to get those red to at least yellow. So now I know what we have to work on. It's we're totally good to go. We're just not, we got the leadership, we got this, but the money, now what do we need to do for that? Now you know exactly what you got to work on. So predetermined traffic lights for any major move is always a good thing to have.
That's great.
I love that. I think we have we have a couple reds,
We have a couple
maybe
reds.
maybe a green there someplace. That's where we're at. No,
I get
love
it.
that. I love that answer.
Well, I think it's tough sometimes, and sometimes whether it's from, a network or a person, there's opportunity given, and to decide, is this something that God is calling us to? Is it something we're ready for? Or do we stay in our lane and pass an opportunity, and so kind of navigating through that. And so I think that the traffic lights really helped. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, and I'll just add this is like, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I just love go aggressive, move, take risks, go for it. That's never going to be the problem for me.
Yeah.
So I have to create these traffic lights to go like, okay, hold on a second. Let me really think this through. And I got to get the right people around me. I always say this though, I'll just tag this onto it is, I'm willing to have a conversation almost about anything. Conversations are free. Like someone says, we should launch a campus over here and we got a building, okay, let's talk. Now you can say no at the end of the conversation, but have the conversation, at least you had it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's great. Conversations are free.
Yeah,
they are. Really so have it. You can always say no. It doesn't mean you're committed to it.
Yeah.
But may as well have it. You might find there's a yes in there, or you might find a no, but they're free. Yeah. I have conversations all the time. And 9 times out of 10, I'm like, nope. Oh, I like that one. And I go after that one, So I just had one literally an hour ago with someone where I'm like, wait a minute. Let me think about that. Let's talk about that. Yeah. But I'll run it through some traffic lights in my head, and it's like, okay, yes or no. So anyway, there you go.
I love that. Yeah.
I feel like we're a lot like that. What did you call it? You said serial?
Yeah.
Serial entrepreneur.
Yeah. That's us where we're like, let's start this. Let's start that.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
And you don't want to paint yourself into a corner because, my serial entrepreneur has got us in trouble where it's like, oh gosh, we overstretched ourselves.
Right.
Now we hurt this. Now we hurt that. And I'm like, oh, in hindsight, I should have never done that. So I have coaches. I believe in getting coached. We coach hundreds of churches, and I personally have 2 coaches in my life. And that was about many, many years ago. My coach said, you need traffic lights. And because if you don't, you're going to say yes to everything, and you can't say yes to everything.
So good.
Because every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. You just don't know you might not even know what that no is, but every time you say yes to something, you're definitely saying no to something, even if you don't know what that no is.
No, that's fantastic. Being a serial entrepreneur, just like you. No, I think we've realized the level of I wouldn't say stress, but then the amount of pressure and the time it not just puts on our lives as pastors, but our families. So you have a family yourself. So I'm just curious to see how you've navigated that, because I know there's always a cost in doing a lot of things, launching another campus, planting a church, and that was a huge burden, a great burden on our lives. But man, we realized that more so today, that how much it affected even our family in a good way. But the question is like, how, maybe you can share with us how you have navigated being a pastor of 12 campuses, with your wife and your kids, friends and such.
Yeah. So, people have always asked that, and they still ask that today. I don't run the day-to-day of the 12 campuses anymore, but run Church Boom, 200 churches were I've got a lot of stuff going on and books coming out and blah, blah, blah. Got all of that stuff. First, I would say, I think some of this stuff is seasonal. I'm going to get to the main one in a second, but seasonal. So I do 160 to 180 flights a year. That's a lot of flying. There's only 365 days, and 175 of them I'm in the air. And so that's a lot. But I wouldn't have done that when my kids were 8 and 10. Right. There's no way I would have done that. I wasn't going to miss my son's games. I wasn't going to miss my daughter. I'm just not going to do that. Yeah. So I think it is seasonal. I think what you can do and to the level you can do it is seasonal. Now my wife comes with me every 3 or 4 trips, and my kids aren't at home anymore. It's just different. It's a different season. Yeah. And everybody has those different seasons. That's life. But I'm often asked the question at conferences or roundtables or whatever, hey, you got a lot going on. How do you keep it all in balance with your marriage? How do you keep it all balanced with your family and your wife and blah, 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 blah. And for years, I went down the same old trail that everybody went down. Like, you got to have a date night with your wife. You got to do this. You got to, all the stuff that everybody has said over and over. And it's not that it's wrong, but everybody has said it over and over. And quite a while ago, my own personal mentor, coach, told me, he said, Chris, I think you need to, your answer is the typical one, dating, or you got to date your wife, you got to date, all that stuff, which is all true. But he said something to me that I now respond differently to. And I say, when it really comes down to it, it just comes down to obedience. That's it. And when it really comes down to it, it's like, well, I'm not spending time with my kids like I should. Okay, it's not a balance issue. It's an obedience issue. I'm not spending time with my spouse like I should. That's not a balance issue. That's an obedience issue. And I've just come to realize that I can come up with all these tips and say, you should date your wife and do all this stuff. But when it comes really down to it, it's just an obedience issue. I'm not taking a Sabbath. It's an obedience issue.
Great.
And so once you look at it from that lens, it's like, I know what God wants me to do. And it doesn't matter how busy I am. I know what I can't say, well, I'm really busy, God, so I'm going to ignore the Sabbath. I'm really busy, God. I'm going to ignore. That's just not going to work. It's an obedience issue. I think it really is. So I do think it's seasonal, definitely. I think the I won't say the obedience, but the seasonal of like your kids are small and now they're not small, just like it's seasonal. There's some seasonal to it, but I think the overriding thing is obedience. It's not a balance issue. It's an obedience issue.
Wow.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. I think we heard you speak somewhere else recently, and you said that someone asked a question of burnout, and you said, "I think it's just obedience." And I think that was
We came out of that like,
well,
wow, that's good. Yeah.
it was really good, because then we got to talk to that person, and then we realized, oh, you're doing stuff you shouldn't be doing. So really, I told David, man, Pastor Chris is prophetic. Like it was dead on.
You got issues, buddy.
Trust me, I wasn't clapping. I was just like clapping. I was like, yes, that's so good. That's
awesome.
what we needed to hear at that moment.
That's awesome.
That's so great. So great.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else?
Oh, that's all my questions have been.
All right.
Do you have any other questions?
Do we have another question? Was it on discipleship? Yeah, I guess I do.
One more.
One more question.
Okay.
I mean, there's so many models and takes on discipleship. I mean, of course, we got our own, and in my mind, discipleship is just come to church, get together, let's learn the word together, have small groups. But what would you say about churches in a discipleship process, or do you have one at your church that you would say, you know what, this worked for us, and the reason why it worked for us is because of this. So just curious to hear.
We've always done really well in leadership development, volunteer cultures, things like that. A few years ago, we used a program, and it has really, really, really worked. And it's a program I believe it was created here in Orange County, California, I think, by a couple guys years ago, called Rooted. And that thing has really worked well for us. It's a course, people sign up for it. I'm blown away how many people sign up for it. They go through I think it's 8-10 weeks. They learn what discipleship, they learn how to read the Bible, they learn how to pray, they learn how to tithe. They learn all of it. And so it's a pretty short answer, but the answer is it's been amazing that I feel like we fumbled around with that. Like, hey, people are in serving, they're in small groups, and I think those all play a role. And we've done really well in a lot of those. But a few years ago, we applied Rooted, and it really works really well at all of our campuses. It is done, I think, twice a year, and it has really been an amazing process, this thing called Rooted. And we always kind of create our own stuff. We're not really big into taking other people's stuff. We create it, but it's so good. I'm like, it's good. It's great. Don't spend the time. Don't recreate the wheel, man. This is good. So we like it, and it's worked really well for us. So, Rooted. Yeah.
I love that. Let me add one more question into leadership development. What have you done with your leaders to develop them? Has there been tiers for you in leadership development, saying like those are a higher level leadership and would be trained in a specific way and such?
Yeah, I mean that's that's not a quick question. How do you develop leaders in 30 seconds?
Right.
But
To do the follow-up call.
Right.
well, that's probably part of the follow-up call. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
part of Church Boom University. It's a program that we have through our churchboom.org. But I always teach the leadership ladder. And I think two things. I'll give you the brief version of it. I believe in leadership circles. I think that every staff member should grab 5 or 6 people and go through a book together. And they're developing leaders, and they're going through leadership books together, not discipleship books, leadership books together. I think through that circle, you can discover the fifth level on the ladder is leadership apprenticing. I think that every department needs to be apprenticing leaders to do what they do. You shouldn't have one worship leader. You should have 4. You shouldn't have one children's pastor. You should have 4. They need to be apprenticing. So leadership circles and leadership apprenticing is what we kind of gear towards. There's a lot that goes into that, but you can learn it at Church Boom University. I can meet with you offline about that. It's called the Leadership Ladder. It's on our Church Boom University platform, but it has helped a lot of churches. And I think that every staff should be involved in having a circle they meet with, and every staff should be apprenticing someone. But anyway, that's a short version of a very long question. But
I
I love it, Chris.
yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I do have to jump on the next call I got coming up. But, man, thanks for jumping on today, you guys. It's really awesome to have you on here. Really
Thank
is.
you.
And anything
Thanks so
I can do
much.
for you, let us know. We're always here to help.
All right. Thank you, Pastor
All
Chris.
right. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day. Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye. Hey, thanks for checking out the podcast today. Hope you enjoyed the conversation with David and Randall. Want to remind you one more time to check out churchboom.org. There are a lot of opportunities to grow as a leader there. And we believe that leaders are learners. So check out churchboom.org, and we will see you on the next Fly on the Wall podcast.